Welcome everyone to another Zillow Rentals webinar. Today's topic is what makes a great listing, the data behind high-performing properties. I'm your host, Brian Miller, and I'm here to tell you renters want information, all of it. Our conversation today will center around the impact of providing every detail and how to achieve completeness when it comes to your listings. We'll, of course, dive into the data and talk about trends like renter demand and behavior, and we'll provide you with some tools for you to use at your communities. So we have data, we have insights, we have tools, and best of all, we have our guest, Erica Rasmussen, Senior Product Manager here at Zillow. Welcome, Erica.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do for Zillow?
Definitely. So I'm on the product team here at Zillow Rentals, and my work focuses on all things digital listings, especially listing quality and 3D tours.
Well, we asked you to join us today because you lead some really great research at Zillow, which is focused on high-performing listings. So I'm excited to get into all of that with you. But first, I'd love it if you could spend some time telling us who is looking at those listings and some of their preferences and how the market is shaping up around them.
Yeah, of course. So we have a two-sided marketplace at Zillow Rentals, renters and partners, that's you. And we need property managers to provide the best info, the highest quality listings, so they can help renters. And in turn, we help you fill vacancies. But we need to understand who are today's renters and what do they want. So we use research and insights to determine what products and features to build here at Zillow. And along with getting live feedback from renters, we also run an annual study called the Consumer Housing Trend Report, where we survey over 36,000 renters. And I want to share just a little bit from that. So home buying is happening later with a median age of renters at 42. This means that people are renting for longer and their rental preferences are changing as their life does. Now, 58% of renters are still considering buying. This seems high, but it's actually a drop from what we saw in 2022 at 66%. It is really hard to buy a house right now, and many renters are waiting. Like I said, this data comes from our Consumer Housing Trend Report. You can grab the full copy right from that QR. So we've seen really high rent growth over the past few years. And while this is still increasing, we're seeing the rent growth cooling off with only a 3.4 increase last year. These increases are not even across metros, with some markets still seeing really high rent increases and others cooling off further. And there's a lot of hyper-local trends that's mirroring what's happening in new construction. And so the supply side of this is changing as well. There's been a dip in the number of new permits since last year, but we're seeing the result of a huge influx of new buildings that broke ground in 2021 and 2022. This record number of apartments is coming onto the market, which is dramatically changing up supply. And so this is another reason that we're seeing that slowdown on the rent growth side. And the rental search itself is changing too. Renters are finding their next place directly from their phone. 1 in 5 renters didn't take an in-person tour, which tells me that they're able to better understand what you're offering directly from your listing, including using great media like 3D tours, great photos, and videos. And for renters, interest in online tools doesn't stop with their rental search. More and more renters want to do everything from their phone, including applying, leasing, and paying rent. So in other words, it's pretty tough out there for your listings. There is so much competition recently, and renter expectations just continue to go up. So it's really never been more important to prioritize the quality of your digital listings.
That's great context. And likely it's one of those things that we all know, but as marketers, we struggle to balance amongst all the other priorities on our plate. My mind goes to what's most impactful. And how does Zillow help me determine where even to place my focus?
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in. At Zillow, we talk a lot about how obsessed we are with the renter experience. And so it's really important for us to know, what do renters want to see on listings? And in talking to renters, we saw 3 major themes around listing quality. The first is that renters want to know that a listing is real. I don't worry about this one. We have a phenomenal trust and safety team, and we have no tolerance for spam or scam listings. The second is that renters want to know that the unit that they're looking for is actually available. It's a waste of time for you both if renters see something that is not actually there anymore. And third, renters want to know everything about the property. They're making decisions right from your listings. The more info, the better.
I think if one of these jumps out to me the most, it's completeness. As a marketer, I want to have all the information available in front of the renter so they can decide if the apartment is a good fit for them. But I also want to make it clear if they'll qualify or not. That's not just for the renter's benefit, but for the leasing teams, with the goal being that we want to put them in front of qualified renters.
Yeah, for sure. We wanted to build a way to measure and score the completeness of listings. So we compiled a list of criteria that renters tell us that they care about, things like 3D tours, description, great photos, and added these criteria up to a score that makes it really easy for you to be able to action on. And based on that score, each listing falls into one of four categories: outstanding, strong, good, and needs improvement. And we built this score based on things that renters tell us are important. We didn't actually know that higher quality listings would get better performance results, but I was really, really impressed by the results. So when we looked at a period in time, August 2023 through July 2024, we saw a big difference in the outcomes of these scores. And during this time, the lowest scoring multifamily listings, those needs improvement listings, received 50% fewer views, 23% fewer leads, 40% fewer saves, and 36% fewer shares on average compared to those good or strong listings. And then between that same period, the highest scoring listings, those outstanding listings, got 157% more views, 73% more leads, 55% more saves, and 41% more shares on average compared to the typical good or strong multifamily listing.
I think that's incredible. If I'm a marketing director, I see those huge percentage increases and I'm really eager to make some changes. I'm curious to see if there are specific things I should be focused on to help achieve that.
Absolutely. One of the benefits of working at a place like Zillow is that we're able to look at what specifically renters are engaging with. We get a ton of data and we filtered it down. And I'm excited to share the 5 biggest recs that we think provide the best impact. So our first recommendation is to give renters specifics about the unit. Behind rent price and location and neighborhood, these unit level details were rated as the next most important pieces of information that renters really want to see on listings. Renters want to know a lot more than you have a generic 2-bedroom between 700 and 1,000 square feet from $2,000 to $2,500. They want to know about unit 403. How big is it? What's the layout? How much is it? This makes them feel like they have more transparent information on the listing and helps your rental feel like it might be their next home. Our second recommendation is to get them in the door by offering a rental concession. We know that the rental market has slowed quite a bit in the past few years. There's more competition. It's a renter's market. So if you're not offering a deal, you may want to consider it. If you are, make sure it's not just on your website, but also on your Zillow listing. And this doesn't have to be months of free rent. Think about creative ways you can offer a special offer, like gift cards or parking incentives. Our third recommendation is to add all of your amenities. Amenities are tough because adding a pool or a rooftop deck to your property is a major investment, and your place might be in my hometown of rainy Seattle. But if you're leaving amenities off your listing, appliances, flooring, shared spaces, controlled access, views, you're really leaving leads on the table. A few more amenity data points. According to an analysis we did with 5.6 million rental listings, we saw that adding in-unit laundry to your multifamily listing generated 76% more daily saves and 92% more daily shares. So if you have it, add it. And if you only have shared laundry, think about whether you could add in-unit laundry to a couple of units. According to that same analysis, parking and pets are really important amenities too. We saw that adding amenities like off-street parking and a pet area were a massive win for renters. Moving on from amenities, our fourth recommendation is to allow renters to schedule a tour directly from your listing using tour scheduling software. This allows them to book tour appointments. Renters want to schedule a tour right now, right from your listing, right while they're looking at it. So we partner with Funnel, Entrada, Knock, and we're adding a bunch more. And so consider adding tour scheduling capabilities. It really makes it easier for everyone involved. Our fifth and final recommendation is to diversify your media. First, the easy one, photos. Just make sure you have a great supply of them. At least 5 photos increases your views by about 30%. And then if you want to step it up a little bit, adding a 3D tour increases your views by almost 25%. I want to chat about 3D tours just for a second. Adding a 3D tour can actually be a lot easier than it sounds. We have our own software called Zillow 3D Home, which creates 3D tours just shot directly from your phone. So there are free self-capture options, and then there's also photographer options, professional capture, and hosting tours on Zillow is always free. We're also super dedicated to creating an open network. We think that you should determine where your content goes because we know that it gives renters the best experience when they're shopping for a home. And on top of our own Zillow 3D Home technology, we also accept lots of other providers. We know that there's a lot out there and we want you to benefit from what you've already invested in. And so if you don't see your tour provider on this list, email your rep and we'll make sure that it can get added. Every Zillow 3D Home shot with a professional camera comes with an interactive floor plan. These are floor plans we create from the AI of the tour, and it gives really precise measurements and a clean layout of the space. Renters click into the blue dots, and then they're automatically taken to that spot in the apartment.
I love all of these recommendations. Things like parking and pet policies may seem very straightforward, but it calls out how critical those types of things can be and how important it is to include every piece of information you can. And really achieving a good completeness rating, it really seems like you're at risk of missing engagement and leads if you don't. So I'd love to know, what else are you thinking about when it comes to enhancing listings? Say it's a year from now, we've invited you back. What do you think you're talking about then?
Well, the theme so far has been really that renters want all of the data, and I don't see that changing. So another thing to consider is how clear you're being about tenant criteria. So things like the credit score you require, the income you require. And on our platform, we've added ways to list listing criteria very easily. And that way you and renters can be on the same page when a renter reaches out.
Yeah, and your leasing teams can be more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Continuing on that theme of transparency, costs and fees are going to be a big one. Renters want to know the full cost of living at your property, so there are no surprises there when they start the leasing process. We're seeing tons of legislation on this. I know you are too. So it's really great to get ahead of it. And at Zillow, we've invested in some ways for you to surface these costs and fees to make it really clear to the renter. And the last thing is, how can you communicate the full experience of living at your property, especially for those 1 in 5 renters who may never visit your property in person? Our research shows that renters care a lot about your location, if it's walkable, if it's close to transportation, but also if it offers a sense of community and belonging. So I think it's going to be even more important in a few years to demonstrate how it actually feels to live at your property. How can you make it clear that your place offers that sense of community? We're still really understanding what renters want here and how this might translate to your Zillow listings. But I would focus on things like shared amenities, building social events, and connection to the larger community. Are there ways that you can have this show up in your listing?
I think this is a great flag. I think there's plenty of opportunity to utilize video here, finding creative ways to demonstrate what life is truly like. I think that could really help you stand out.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So to sum up, 3 main takeaways. First, we all want to help renters find their next home, and renting is really tough right now, and this creates new expectations for you. Second, renters have this expectation of great media on your listing, especially if they're not visiting in person, be sure to check out our app, Zillow 3D Home. And our research shows that investing in complete, high quality listings will really move the needle when it comes to driving engagement and leads.
I love that. I think this is a great summary. From the perspective of a marketer, my immediate next thought is I'm bought in. So how do I find out how my listings score and how can I start making improvements?
Yeah, so the easiest thing to do is just log into your Zillow rental account portal. And once you're there, you'll be able to find the scores for each of your properties, along with specific recommendations on exactly how you can improve your listing. And of course, if you don't know how to log in, just hit up your Zillow rep and they'll help you out. We really tried to make this as easy as possible, giving you this self-service rating, and we hope that it's helpful.
Well, thank you so much, Erica. I imagine a few people might be logging in today and taking a look at their scores. I think marketers in the industry have a lot to look after and manage. So some of these pieces that we expect to be a bit more set and forget, well, that isn't always the case. This is a great reminder of just how big an impact it can make to focus on the quality of these listings and the incredible return we can have by making them more complete.
Yeah, I think what I take away from these learnings is it's not just one thing. Great listings are really the sum of their parts, and small changes can really make a big difference.
Well said. Well, thank you, Erica.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Before we wrap, I'd like to share a few resources. So at Zillow, we really want to turn on the lights and share what we know about renters and the market. These QR codes, they'll take you to zillow.com/research, as well as our 2025 Zillow Rentals Consumer Housing Trends Report, which is our annual survey of thousands of US renters. And last, we'd love for you to keep in touch. Subscribe to our newsletter or follow us on LinkedIn, and we promise to make sure you're invited to our next webinar and receive more of this great data. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.